John Macdonald is Director of Strategy at the Adam Smith Institute, what we used to think of as the Free Market Institute, I suppose, Adam, or at least Freer Markets Institute. Perhaps that's a fair way to put it. The Chancellor said he wanted to be judged as a traditional Conservative Chancellor. His aspirations are to cut taxes, to reduce regulation, to free up the economy, to encourage the private sector. Judged on his words, how do his deeds match, in your view?
Well, look, Rishi Sunak is a highly effective communicator, and he inspires confidence in the policies that he announces. I think he set out some useful cuts and some useful tweaks that could genuinely help those with the cost of living. The universal credit taper rate, great. Reductions in duties on alcohol and business rates reform are all very good. But these alone don't really make for a good budget. They cannot distract from the fact that the Conservatives are busy baking in a less dynamic and more heavily taxed economy, which is having to be buoyed up by this huge spending spree that they're going on. I can hardly keep track of everything that's been announced. And as the Chancellor himself said, taxes are the highest that they've been in 70 years.
Just picking on that, it's very striking, isn't it, to hear that the Chancellor he has these aspirations. We haven't had a Chancellor who balanced the books in sort of Gladstonian way since Gordon Brown, of all people, who people think of as an enthusiastic spender.
No, I mean, it's the level of spending is a leviathan. I think we're seeing on a £150 billion increase in departmental spending. It's about 40% of national income at the moment. And to me, it looks like Boris wants to carry on spending like a drunken sailor, and he sort of forced Rishi to give him the public's wallet to do it. The real crux of the issue here, though, is that this will probably result in a sort of a sub 2% growth rate, or at least a growth rate that's much lower than it otherwise should be.
Just on that question, you talked about the importance of the way that the Chancellor communicates, and he is undoubtedly a very effective political communicator. He comes across as a kind of somebody who seems across his brief, who knows what the impact of his measures are. But the markets look at this with rather cold-hearted way in the end. Do you think they will react positively to this, given the view you've expressed that this is a government, not quite, maybe they don't see the Prime Minister as a drunken sailor, but at least they might share the view that the government is spending optimistically. Even Ken Clarke said it is optimistic, the assumptions he's making.
Oh, crikey, well, if Ken Clarke said it. Look, admittedly, the country has done a lot better than awful economic forecasts that we had through the pandemic. We have had a good amount of bounce-back growth, and borrowing has also been substantially lower than was otherwise predicted. But these encouraging signs don't really call for a reaping of what has only just been sowed. And I think the issue is that the Conservatives are now sort of claiming to be the party of public services, which is how they're justifying spending all this money. But more accurately, they're a party of spending on public services. There's little mention of ambitious reform that might actually fix some of the structural problems that the country faces.
Let me ask you finally, what will for you be the acid test of the coming 2 or 3 years, which is the spending review period that the government's announced?
I mean, there are a few things that the government could do. I mean, we're in favour of abolishing national insurance tax, of increasing the sort of the personal allowance. But to me, it'll be whether or not we can actually get to the sort of high wage, high growth society that the Conservatives keep on banging on about. And I don't think that with this sort of tax and spend agenda that we'll really get there.
John Macdonald of the Director of Strategy at the Adam Smith Institute. Pleasure to speak to you. Thanks so much for your assessment. Back to Branwen Jeffries, who's at a school in Leicester. Branwen.
So you need to go to that mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.